We gather in the cosmos bright. Stars and ships take flight tonight. In the void where dreams do play. Soul citizens lead the way. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed. Squadrons call on the horizon. Battles fought, our hearts aren't frightened. In our ships we face the dawn. Soul citizens carry on. Oh, planets spin and light years fly. Boundless space where hopes reside. Motherhood in every star. Soul citizens, here we are. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed.
Turn your mic on. Greetings and salutations. Greetings and salutations. How's everybody doing? Welcome to episode 263 or 63 of
Yep.
Soul Citizens, A Little Help from My Friends. I am SeriousFun. I am the third of three. I complete the triangle of greatness. That is the producers of Soul Citizens. And I'll take a cue from Disco Lando, Jared Huckabee, that sometimes, you're streaming and it's the first time somebody is watching you. So I'll tell you that Soul Citizens is a community of content creators and backers and supporters and hanger-ons and hanger-outs, all interested in Cloud Imperium Games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. So welcome. It's great to have you here. It's a blessing to be with you tonight. We're going to talk about A Little Help from My Friends, and I'm going to introduce the panel that we have tonight to explore this idea of what we mean by a little help from my friends. And I'm going to start with, how are you seeing this on Twitch? The person just to my left, and then we'll go further on. GriffinGamingRPG, how you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you doing, my friend?
Every day is a blessing. You ready for this topic?
Ready to go.
All right. And then to his left is the inimitable Fast Car FC. Fast Car, how are you?
Stop using words I don't know what they mean. No, I'm kidding. I'm doing well. How are you doing? Well, you already said you're doing well. I'm doing well too. How's everybody doing in chat?
They're all wondering how they can get that red Soul Citizen shirt. We'll talk about merch.
It's not even available anymore. I don't think it's even available anymore.
The rarest of the air. All right, there we go. And then to his left, one of the newer Soul team members, but somebody I got to know out in Los Angeles at CitizenCon, Captain Jones. How's it going?
How's it going, all my Soul friends, both here and in chat? Things are going good. And even if you can't get that fabulous red shirt that F-Cart's wearing at the moment, you can get this hat at the same place. Maybe more.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, you can get my greetings and salutations mug.
Sorry. Yeah, Griffin was commenting last week that we don't promote our merchandise as much as we used to. So yeah, we should start doing that some more.
Yeah, I'm gonna show up with my greetings and salutations mug, and hold it up like this. But again, welcome. It's a blessing to have everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about cooperative play, and what it's been, what it means in Star Citizen, what it can be, how we've experienced it, and invite you all to give us your thoughts in the chat as well as we go through this. But Griffin, if you'll put up that intro, we'll talk a little bit about this and move through it. I'll read this one, and that's a cue for y'all to get ready to read later on. So this is my reading first. I'll go first.
I gotta work. No one told me this.
Cooperative gameplay. Cooperative video game multiplayer, often called co-op, is a game mode where players team up to achieve a common goal against real and AI-controlled opponents, rather than competing against each other. This collaborative approach allows players to support each other, sharing resources, abilities, and strategies to overcome challenges together. There's a lot of words in that we tend not to often hear sometimes. Together, sharing, collaborative,
Support.
for common goals, right? And
I think the only word out of all that people heard was AI controlled. I think that's everyone knows what that is.
right, and it has a thought on it too, right? But there's a history to this thing, and we'll talk about it as we go. But the main question we want to explore, and it's been explored on social media. I mean, Griffin, who does a lot of research for these things, has found stuff years back, right? And so people are discussing it now. People have been discussing it for years. Why is cooperative gameplay rare? Why has it become so rare? And there are a lot of different answers that we've mined, big different buckets of thought on this that we've mined that we want to make sure that we get you all thoughts on. But this is for us, this was an interesting question because you don't have to ask about competitive gameplay. It just is, right?
Yeah.
It just manifests, right? It's just all the time competitive gameplay. It is happening, for whatever reason or set of reasons, right? That's a whole nother video, a whole nother show.
Can I ask you a question? Which one do you feel happens? I mean, you said it's rare. Is it rare in Star Citizen, or are you speaking in general, like games, like across the board to you? When you talk about it being rare, I'm just kind of curious what you're thinking.
I experience it lightly across games, period. Right now, there are games that are structured that way, right? There was a game called It Takes Two that came out on console, and I got that game explicitly to sit down with my wife and introduce her finally to gameplay because we had to go through it together. She still didn't want to play it. She hadn't like anything that isn't Atari, like one button. You got all these buttons. She don't want to hear it, but that game was made for that. But it stood out because of that as well, right?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about how is that game? Did you like it? Or did she like it?
Yeah, she's not into it. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
I hate to say this, my biggest cooperative game was probably Little Big Planet. That was like one of my, that one.
That's another it's a great example.
And that was like my daughters.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say with my daughters, whenever I tried to play cooperatively with people, my first experience of cooperative gameplay actually was, I want to say it was Doom. I want to say it was Doom. And my problem with playing cooperative, the guy who I used to play Doom with all the time, even though it was supposed to be cooperative, when we played the game, he still played it solo. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like we would have a fight, and I would be like, okay, let's have the fight. Then when we're done, let's recuperate. You know, if you need a med pack, you get it, and you know if you need something to drink, you get it. No, this cat would like sweep the room and get everything while he was fighting. Then when the fight be over with, like if he got to 97% out of 100, he'd pick up a med pack. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, where's the cooperation? Yeah, where's the cooperation? You know what I mean? It didn't happen, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we'll cover this more, but cooperative gameplay has becoming more rare. I find it quite a bit when I'm playing my mobile games on my tablet or my phone. It seems to be that more cooperative gameplay or shared goals and missions and stuff like that online on a mobile game than like a console or a PC game these days.
Yeah, I remember there was if I think back to my really first thing that I played with somebody and we were looking at each other like we got to do this together, it was probably doubles Pong.
Oh, okay.
You know, you could play Pong and then you could play on the same side together.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I forgot about that too.
It's probably the very first time I was like looking at somebody else like, you got to get yourself together. And they're like, I'm working on it. You know,
people in chat has no idea what we're talking about. It's like what was early 80s or something like that.
Yeah, or mid 70s. Yeah, but
God.
Pong was this game. Well, I won't do that. But to your point, Griffin, across most games, it isn't as if the pillar of you could do whatever this is in a sharing cooperative way is as present as the you're all in it for yourself pillar, right? And as somebody who does service design and service design thinking for companies and organizations, one of the things I talk to everybody about is you get exactly what you design for every time, right? So this ain't no mistake, and people ain't stumble into this. This is the design that we're seeing across it. And so so then when you say in Star Citizen, and we'll talk about it here, you know, does it have to be rare? Right? Or are we getting a design that allows us to potentially think differently about our Star Citizen experience? There are 5 big buckets that we've unearthed that could be an answer or a way to explore this question: why is cooperative gameplay so rare? And the first one is, and I'll ask Captain Jones to read this one.
So, first one, answer 1. Intentionally making a game which requires more than one person is going to alienate a large portion of the studio's prospective player base.
Right. So we hear this all the time, right? Like, don't focus on making me have to play with other people, right? Don't focus on, I want to be able to do everything in the game by myself, right? Last time I joined an org, everybody was a jerk. I don't want to have to join an org, right? Or all of this stuff. So the first answer to why cooperative gameplay is rare is because some people would say intentionally making a game which requires more than one person is going to alienate those that want to play it by themselves. What do y'all think about that? NASCAR, what are your thoughts when you see that answer?
Things have changed in the past 20 years. I mean, back in the day, I never heard of this, and it wouldn't have. This thought wouldn't have occurred to me 20 years ago. It's only like more recently where the industry has steered gamers toward more single player games than multiplayer games. It seems like, or maybe like
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you guys think MMOs are like popular today as they were like 20 years ago? Like, I know WoW was a big thing back then. I never played WoW, but everyone, it seemed like few and few people have played. Oh, this is my first MMO when they play Star Citizen these days. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point. I remember back in the day before we had MMOs, before there was multiplayer or cooperative play, we played individually. And then when multiplayer came on board, which is kind of why I went back to Doom, when multiplayer became a thing, we were excited to play with other people. I mean, you looked for games that you could play with other people in them. They still gave you Doom still gave you the option to play the game solo, but playing it with someone else, whether it was Doom or God, I can't think of the other game that came out back then. Not Havoc made it. I can't think of the company that made it. But there were a bunch of games that came out that started offering this multiplayer thing. But some of them made it cooperative gameplay, but a lot of them shifted toward more like a deathmatch scenario where you were playing against people versus playing with them. And I kind of felt like that started to overtake it, because it brought a competitive edge against a human player versus a, computer AI or, what do you call it? PvE kind of thing. And cooperative seemed to kind of start to lose its edge a little bit. Even when games like Battlefield 1942 came out, which was like cooperative, you were all on the Japanese side or the American side, people still kind of solo played in a cooperative game. You know what I'm saying? People didn't, unless you went in with friends and tried to coordinate, you just kind of all knew that the other side was the enemy, but you still didn't try to coordinate when you played. I don't know. I don't know if there's ever been a game that's provided cooperative ways to connect with other people and team up in a really good way, unless you go in with people that you know already. You know what I mean?
To your point, part of the downfall or beginning of the downfall was maybe GoldenEye. You remember GoldenEye?
I remember GoldenEye and I didn't play it.
Sure.
I remember it and didn't play it. So y'all fill me in.
Well, Vanguard's right.
Yeah, GoldenEye had a split screen where you play
Right.
against each
The
other.
different segments.
Someone take the top and someone take the
Right.
bottom.
Right.
And yeah, I think that was the beginning of competitive. Not beginning of it, but where it took it to a new level where you could be in the same room and play against each other.
Was it cooperative play as well, or was it strictly competitive?
As far as I know, it's strictly competitive.
Okay. Where I was looking at Doom offered both. You know what I mean? You didn't play against each other in Doom. You both, if you came in with two people, you both went through the game together fighting the monsters. There was no competitive. But later, I'm trying to think of the game. Oh God, what's the Unreal Engine was built around it, but it was another game that came out when Unreal Tournament came out. And Unreal Tournament introduced, what was it? Quake. Thank you. Yes, Quake was the other one. That's the one I'm thinking of, is Quake. Yeah. I know we're going back a little bit, y'all. Some of these games may be, I'm sure they're archaic, ancient history, but these were like the introductory games to people having that opportunity to play with or against somebody.
Well, and before Captain Jones jumps in, I'm going to go back even further, because this question sort of it's asked and explored from the studio's perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does the studio want to lose anybody, right? And I remember before there were even MMOs. Fastcart says, are MMOs as popular as they used to be? Well, I think you had different types of concentrations of players. The same way that when I was growing up, there were 3 channels to watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if something was on, it got 25 million viewers because there was nothing else to watch, right?
Yeah.
And now there are an infinite number of channels to watch. Back then, there was a concentration of players and less options. But even before MMOs, there were things called MUDs. Y'all remember MUDs?
Right.
MUDs were multi-user dungeons, right? And you could go through them on the basis of text, right? And so I could, and a lot of this clustered around the idea of people being able to play a digital version of D&D or a digital version of Middle Earth or a digital version of you know, a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, right? It was very much that community going on to their computer. Text also was a great equalizer, right? If I had a really top end computer and you had a bottom end computer, we both could still do a text game, right? The same thing with Warcraft. Warcraft did not have and has not had, right, that the top edge graphics and resolution, right? It's a relative equalizer. So Star Citizen faces a different proposition in that, you know, it requires a different level of computer to play well, right? And so I think they have to think about, they're already quote unquote alienating a portion of the prospective PC player base just from their PC requirements, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
don't know
can they afford to alienate any
ahead.
further, or should they have a variety of options inside the game?
Yeah, I think it comes down to this when it's all said and done. I think it comes down to the money. They make more money building games that are designed for solo play versus cooperative play. You know, to me, I think that's what it boils down to. But I could be. I don't know. Captain Jones hadn't said nothing. What was he gonna say? I don't know.
Yeah, Captain Jones, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can see how money is a factor. So when we're looking at that answer, I think there's pieces of it missing. So when it's talking about intentionally making a game, it's missing out there. It's intentionally making a game that has compelling cooperative gameplay. And to do that probably does cost a lot more money, more R&D, more story design, versus grabbing a bunch of players, throwing them in a sandbox or a big FPS map and say, hey, go at it. You know, if the gameplay is derived from you and I do against each other, and me as a game creator don't have to do as much work, which means it's going to cost me less money. There are games out there that have offered both in the past. Like I was a big StarCraft fan, both 1 and 2. And there were
Mass Effect 3.
options. Yeah, there was options to work cooperatively. There was options to work against each other, but there was options. And to have those options is going to cause you to have to put in more work. So do I think it's essential? Sure, because it's the easier path. It's easier to make it so that I don't need to add that compelling gameplay. I can get it out in the player's hands faster, and I can do less work.
Okay.
To your point about the computer being a barrier for entry, I think that's becoming less of the case recently. I mean, it feels like back in 2014, you need a top line computer. You definitely needed well, I don't want to go into specifics, but you need a top line computer back in 2014. Nowadays, you can get by with a 1080 or 2080 Super. You can be like 3 or 4 generations behind and still play Star Citizen. I think that barrier is becoming it's less of a barrier now than what it was before.
Fair point. All right. So we have a few other ways in which we're trying to understand this question around cooperative gameplay. We're going to move kind of quickly through these. Answer 2. Fast Car, will you read that one?
Sure. Cooperative games often have to deal with skill divide. If one person is good at game and the other isn't, a fun cooperative experience can quickly turn into resentment from both sides.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. What do you think of that, Griff? Griff, you laughing? What do you think about that one?
I mean, I remember playing games with somebody who didn't know how to play it. And I would just sit there patiently with them and work through it. I didn't feel like they had to be at my level to play the game. Now, don't get me wrong. Cooperative, see, I came out of a D&D space. And when you're in a D&D space, usually people that are playing with you are somewhere within the range of your level. So if you're a level 7, you may have a level 6 and a level 5 person with you. You may not have a level 1 person with you. That definitely would be something that you would kind of feel as far as what level of contribution. But then again, I did play with people who were low level and we were patient with them and they just contributed what they could contribute. I didn't feel resentment toward them because they weren't a level. Now I'm laughing because I know there are people who do feel that way. When I played games like Counter-Strike, and I tried to go into Counter-Strike without any friends and learn how to play the game, man, if you weren't at the level of those people, man, they kick you out of the group, cuss you out, and, tell you where to go and give you directions at the same time, right? So, I think there was the competitive edge is so strong for some people that even when there's somebody who's coming in who's trying to figure it out and learn, don't get me wrong, there are those times you get those people who do try to help you out, right? But sometimes that patience level of working with somebody who's coming in, people they'll shut down. Like, I don't want to be bothered, go figure it out. Especially now, since people have access to tools like YouTube, they can watch somebody stream. People won't take that time out anymore now. It's like, well, go watch a few videos and come back and talk to me after you've gotten good. I mean, that's just the way it is, But back in the day, those tools weren't there. So maybe that's why we had to take the time to help somebody get a little further along as they were learning a game.
I can come at it from the other side. As someone who doesn't play well, play one-handed, I always feel like I'm holding people back when especially because I'm usually the first one to die when it comes to these underground missions or Onyx and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, sorry guys, oops, I messed up again. So I always feel bad. So it doesn't turn into resentment from me. It just feels like into guilt. Put it that way, guilt more than resentment for me.
Yeah, I think, Captain Jones, I'll give you a chance to go, but I think that I am patient inside a game to the extent that I am positioned to feel free to teach and mentor, right? So if I'm in a game and assets are super scarce and I don't have anything in my life, everything that I have, if I die, is going to take me 2 weeks to rebuild, then I am not in teaching mode, right? I am in figure my own stuff out mode, right? But once I've got that space, then I am open to helping people have the same type of experience that I just had, right? So it really depends on where I am in the game. And so with Star Citizen, none of this matters. This is all alpha, right? So it's all good. Whatever happens is all good for me. But I do imagine that when the game starts and we all get 10,000 UEC or 20,000 UEC and it all counts, that you're going to have some segment of the population that's going to think that way. That's going to be like, let me go off and get myself together, right? Then I can come back and help people out, right? Whereas it'll be interesting to see if Star Citizen can build it such that people immediately think, let's do this together so that we grow the overall pie together, right? Captain Jones, what do you think?
I do believe in that, what you're talking about growing together. So you could have the perspective of just GGs, telling them to get good and try to conquer the world by yourself. However, cooperative gameplay is playing with somebody else, playing on a team. And if people realize within a team, everybody has their various strengths and weaknesses and focusing on those strengths, then that's where the cooperation comes there. If you're on a team, you're on a basketball team. If you know someone isn't good at shooting jumpers, or you might not pick them to shoot the shot, but maybe they're good at something else. So a lot of times we defer to, I'm in this bunker, I'm slaughtering all the NPCs, and somebody else is dying or somebody else isn't carrying away. When in reality, they might have other things that could add to the team, especially when they start giving us other roles, like engineering and medical gameplay, all the things that are really missing to let us be truly cooperative. Right now, it's just about who can throw those bullets around the best, but there's really more to it, or hoping there will be more to it in the future.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think I got an example for this answer number 2. SWTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO, had something called the Datacron Hunt, and like I started, I was a day one player, so eventually down the line, the Datacrons, or what you would get in order to enhance your attributes like strength, health, dexterity, and what have you, and it will be a permanent boost to for your character once you click on the Datacron. but there were always puzzles that you had to jump through hoops literally in order to reach them. So, like, I was one of the, I don't want to say one of the first people, but yeah, maybe one of the first people to get mine. And then I would, like, eventually down the line, I would have these Datacron hunts for the guild. We do one for the Republic and do one for Empire. And the hardest one was to do was inside the fleet. Because there was a plus 10 Datacron for all your attributes inside the fleet. It would take 2 hours to get to it. And, you know, one person would mess up, fall down to the deck. It was like, oh, we got to start over again. And so I can see resentment building in that aspect, but I'm not sure how that would, I'm not sure if I would see that so much in Star Citizen. But yeah, I can see resentment depending on how much trouble it is, or how long it takes you to get to a certain point.
Yeah, interesting. You know, again, I struggle with even the idea of resentment in an alpha, but I get it, right? People still using their time, right? So, and there's a lot of people think a certain way about their time. We can go on to the next one. This other bucket of cooperative gameplay. Why is it rare? Answer 3. Griff, you want to read that one?
Because you need more than one person to play them, and not just any 2 players, but always the same 2 players, and that heavily limits the market.
Yeah, if it's built like that, that could be a problem, right? If you need the same 2 players, I don't know what game is like that.
Well, I can tell you one. What happens if you and your buddy are in your ship in Star Citizen and y'all log out? And y'all doing something, and your partner can't play when you want to play, and you need a couple people to do it.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility? Is that a possibility? You know, I mean, we don't have that necessarily now, I don't think, but I don't know. Yeah,
I think Final Fantasy 14 had something like that. Maybe I'm misremembering. There are some MMOs where you had to have the same 2 people. If you want to pick it up later on.
Right.
Single players, they definitely have that, especially like Baldur's Gate 3. But yeah, that's not MMO though.
But how did Final Fantasy 14 handle that? You know, you log back in, your friend didn't log in, you had to start over, or what?
Well, they have a system. They have a system where you can replace the person who logged out, especially if they say I have to go. My mom is calling me or something like that. So something unforeseen. You can click the button and it'll pop someone else as a replacement.
Please say my wife is calling, not my mom. Please say my wife. You know, I was just like, oh my god.
I'm saying not me. I'm saying what the other people said. What the other person said. But yeah, so like they have a looking for group system where it's easy to replace people, but we don't have that in Star Citizen.
Yeah, Captain Jones, your thoughts?
Yeah, I could see how that could be a barrier to in certain instances, but I think it's rare and far in between. I don't really think that that's something that should or is factored in when designing whether we're going to make something cooperative. I think at the very most could frustrate a few more than just the dynamics of the game, but sometimes it could be knowledge too. So you know, you playing with the same person makes goals easier to accomplish versus getting some new blood in there. I don't think it's big enough of a factor for me to say. I know it says answer 3, but I would say that's an excuse. I would say if Star Citizen is saying we won't have that much cooperative gameplay because of that reason, it sounds more of an excuse to me than a true answer.
I mean, it's interesting because Star Citizen has physicalized so much, right? And so when you physicalize my space and place in the verse, to Griff's point, and I leave, do I lose verisimilitude? Do I lose my immersion? Do I lose something if, to Fast Card's point with Final Fantasy, somebody else just pops in there now? Do we want that? Do we want it to be handled a different way? Like how do you want how do you want Star Citizen to handle this?
I'm weird because, like I said, go ahead.
I was saying, you know, you would almost need to build it out that way. So think about base building, for example, or if someone has a station or even manning a captive like the Javelin. Say the Javelin needs 80 people. You really can't depend on that one person to stay on all the time. You need gameplay that revolves around shifts and night shifts, and I'm getting off and you getting on, and things maintaining. So I think instead of Star Citizen worrying about how it's not going to work, focusing on that, not only could it work, but it would work great if we make that a focus, because we've got large capital ships and systems and planets and stations, and how do you keep those going 24/7? There's not ways for people to just jump in and jump out.
Yeah.
AI. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, see, I was gonna say, See, I was gonna say, when I play D&D, you couldn't just interchange people. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we played to a certain point this week, when we came back the next week, there could be a thing where if somebody wasn't there, we could go on. But if the bulk of the people weren't there, we basically had to wait until we were all together again. I don't know if gamers are that their mentality is. I don't want to say it that way. I don't know if they want to play that way. I don't know if they want to play that way. Let's say the four of us were playing each week. We said we're going to go out on the Orion because we're going to make a bunch of money during the month of September, right? And we're in week number 3, and 2 guys can't show up for some reason, right? Are we going to be like, well, okay, no big deal. You know, we'll get together next week. Or are we going to be mad because they designed a game that we're all way deep in space and can't nobody get to us? I mean, I don't know what's going to be the deal if that's the scenario. I know we talked about the whole thing about bringing NPCs in and stuff, but and maybe that's the alternative. Maybe an NPC steps in, or maybe they have the whole. I know they're not going to do the whole agent smithing thing, but maybe there'll be somewhere for other players to come help us in that moment. But I'm just saying, in D&D, you didn't play. That was it. Nobody got smoked mad about it. People got busy lives that week, and you couldn't play, and you waited till that next Friday. I don't know whether or not people would want to do that with Star Citizen, though.
Well, to Griffin's point, like, what if you're missing your healer or tank that week? You can't really do much. Yeah, I know exactly what you meant.
You could if you wanted to, but a lot of times you didn't want to move forward because you wanted the other player to be there for the experience. You know what I'm saying? You didn't want to necessarily leave somebody out of the experience all the time. And you may have to make that decision. Do we push forward? Maybe the person said, hey, you guys go ahead and go without me if you can, right? And everybody was cool with it. Then there were other times it was like, nah, we need the magician because this next thing we're getting ready to go into, if we ain't got no magic, we're going to get jacked up. and we didn't play, But that was D&D. That was D&D. I'm not saying Star Citizen should be that way. I'm just saying I don't know. What is the caveat when somebody can't be there, when that Javelin or that Idris can't pull out because, you don't have enough people?
Yeah, I think that what I'm hearing reminds me of what Richard Tyrer said when he said, the same way we have Death of a Spaceman, we're going to have to develop Death of a Spaceship, right? And he talked about this idea of being able to take a shuttle back to repair your ship, right? That they would have shuttling. But what that means to me is the way that they're even thinking about that is physicalized. Nobody's going to jump in any instance to be able to do anything. You're going to have to get on something and ride something somewhere to do something, right? So I think, if 2 people can't be on the Orion, then you could call for 2 people or 2 NPCs, and they're going to have to get on something and ride out to where you are, right? They're not going to be able to just instance in. That's not how I'm not sure. I don't think that's how they're thinking about this game. I think they're thinking consequence, time, and not everybody's going to like that. Right? So
interesting.
Yeah, let's keep moving.
Not all's going to like it. Some of it comes down to just strategy and planning. So you could plan around those times when people are not going to be there. You hear now, even in the game now, where it doesn't take that much pre-planning. People saying, I had to go buy med pens, or I got to stop and get ammo. So planning that out, it's the counter. Maybe we meet on Wednesdays and we don't meet that Wednesday, but we double up the next week or something. I mean, people just gotta a little more thought into it versus hoping everything is spoon fed to them 24/7.
Mm.
Yeah, agreed. Answer number 4. Why is cooperative gameplay so rare? Financial suicide. Unless your game is really good, you won't get players. Something like this is a massive loss and opportunity. The wider your net, the more your sales. What do y'all think about that? This is a corollary to what Captain Jones was saying about some development is just easier to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
it's easier, and I think people look at what's been happening. So if you look at the trends of multiplayer games over past decade, at least, you see a lot of shooters pop up, FPS shooters. So if I'm looking at my risk versus reward, looking at what's easier to develop and what at one game 2 years ago was super ambitious and failed, this game that just came out is making tons of money, then yeah, I may perceive that that's financial suicide to try do more than what the current market is showing is successful.
I was going to say,
like when we think about the current market, you think about publishers that are thinking about a game that has a short life cycle so that they can give you and sell you again on the sequel, sell you again on the next iteration, right? They're not thinking the way that Star Citizen is thinking, which is we want to build something that lasts 10, 15, 20 years, right? They're thinking, how do I put out Shooter 1 that has a small life cycle so that I can put out Shooter 2 and get another hit and Shooter 3 or whatever it is, right? And so the model is already different in Star Citizen than it is from the typical publishing cycle. So you think that the incentives around and the financials have to be different. Right? So, is it wide net equals more sales, or is it lots of different type of gameplay over the longest period of time equals more sales? Maybe they're thinking it that way.
I mean, I think
Griff, you were getting ready to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I think the wide net thing, I agree with it to a degree, but I think Captain Jones hit it on the head. If we're going to put that type of energy, we can put that energy into the game being solo, but if we're going to make it cooperative, we have to, there's a lot of work that we have to do in that. There's a lot more work. As far as balance, as far as how, multiple players come together, the end goal, like one of the problems we have in Star Citizen now, and it's a fair one, is that when people do things collectively, if the pot is split amongst 7 people, there are people who are like, well, that doesn't feel good, right? I can go do it by myself and I can make all the money. In real life, you wouldn't make all the money, right? You wouldn't. If you work together with some other people, you'd be talking about how are we going to divide it? How are we going to split it? Because in certain situations, you would do that because the only way to achieve it is to do it with a group. That's the only way to achieve the goal. And because it's the only way, you're willing to divide up and split. But because Star Citizen allows both solo play and multiplayer to equal the same reward, then people have no reason to play and split their money. Because it's like, if I just push hard enough, if I get good enough, I can do it by myself. I don't have to split the money. That's always in the back of their mind. So there's nothing that forces you or drives you to work in a competitive space. There need to be some missions. I know some people don't like this. That, to me, there need to be some things that you cannot do. Like, remember we were talking about the worm out of the AST thing, the Valacar thing? It's like,
yeah.
Man, I'm sorry. I said this last day. It should be like 20 to 50 people out there trying to kill that thing, as far as I'm concerned. That it should be tons of people. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Not in my book. Not in my book. Well, here's the deal. I've never seen it. If it's the big one, if it is the big one, and I don't know if it is or not, is it the Apex? Is it a radiation version of the Apex, or is that just a different version?
It's an Apex, a radiated Apex.
It's an irradiated Apex. Okay. If it's an irradiated Apex, it should be a task to kill. How long does it take to kill a thing? Somebody tell me, what's the average? How many people and how long? What's the number? Anybody know?
4 people.
In there.
If you have at least
4
4
people,
people, it's not going to take you long. It's not going to take you very long.
Like how long? 4 people.
Less than 10 minutes.
How many people died of those 4 people?
None.
Roughly. That's weak. See, that's weak. That's some weak gameplay. Y'all cheering over that? If y'all cheering over that, y'all weak. That's weak. I'm sorry. You may not like me for saying it. That is freaking weak. If you gonna fight something like that, man, you should have about 12, 15 people out there, and about a third of y'all need to die because it was that bad. That's how tough it needs to be, as far as I'm concerned.
I think the Captain Jones example it's a weak version. It's already into the maybe there's some kind of lore with that, because I think like with the citizen computation with the battle card, they had like 8 people.
Yeah, they had fighter jets. They had everything out there trying to kill that thing.
Yeah, it was not just people; it was platforms, right? They had different weapons platforms out there as well.
Yeah. Listen, that little Icky and some people running around, that ain't enough people. I'm sorry, that's not enough. And I know y'all may not like that.
So I think the 4 people example one is the weakened one, but I just want to say, like, some people forget. CIG is still making 2 games. They're making the single player game and an MMO, and so you're talking about a wide net. You can't get much more wide than making 2 games in the same universe.
But that wide net isn't this. We're talking about a wide net on one game. We're not talking about wide netting because he's making multiple games. I'm saying I think that the wide net can happen. But I'm saying Captain Jones's point is they have to be willing to put, and maybe that's to your point, Fastcart. It's not because they're making Squadron. It's the fact that that's why it's taking so long. Because if it was just going to be the narrower game, then we could have had it done. But the fact that the Captain Jones said you got to put in the work and the resources to build it out. And in order to do that, that means the length of development goes longer too, right? Since you can satisfy that solo player and also satisfy 24 people that want to get in an Idris and they all feel like they got something out of it, right? But just putting the Idris in the game isn't enough. You've got to put stuff in there that makes those 24 people feel, like they're contributing and also that they're getting something in the end. And I still say y'all weak on that Valacar.
Two things. To Fastcard's point, if you are 100% committed to being the hero, there will be Squadron 42 for you, right? Right. Everything will be about you, right? Ultimately, right, in that game. And the second point is out of the chat. DJ Psychosis says we had 14 people and 6 people with icties, and it was tough.
Good. So that's what I'm talking about, DJ. I applaud you. Yes, absolutely. That's what it is. And somebody said that thing spits through the buildings and you can't hide no more either. So that's good too. And I get it. It was tier 0, but that sucker should be tough to fight.
Let's go on to answer 5, and then we're going to go to a commercial. But let's do the last one, and then we'll talk about our in-game examples and our ideas. Answer number 5. Captain Jones, you want to read that one?
Answer 5. Making a game truly co-op means that you are alienating large portions of your particular player base. I would say the majority of gamers do not have someone to play a truly co-op game with. Even for people that do, only being able to play a game when you have that person with you can be a big hindrance. People are more likely to play the game if they could also be completed solo.
Yeah, this is a major point that people try to make, and when I think about it, for example, I wanted to play with my wife, right? And my wife may not want to play. She may not want to play when I want to play, right? And so the question is, what am I doing this for, right? Am I doing this for the game experience, or am I doing it for the experience I have with her playing the game, right? 2 different things, right? But not everybody has somebody to play with. I think that's an important point. What do y'all think about this?
I'll take a stab at it. I think it's a fair point. I want to say it's important to have friends. Well, it is important to have friends because human beings are a social creature, but having friends who have similar interests isn't always easy. So, especially even if you do have a friend with similar interests, you may not have the same schedule. So, maybe that once a week or the weekend thing may or may not be, you may or may not have enough time to get things done within a reasonable pace, especially when it takes like 30 minutes just to get started. So, yeah, I can see how this is it. I think out of all the answers so far, this one seemed to be most relevant, for at least for me.
Yeah, I'm
I
reminded
think it
of
comes
those
down
games.
to.
Go ahead, Captain Jones.
I was gonna say I think it comes down to expectations as well from the player. So, if I'm expecting to be able to complete the same type of content that a group can complete as a solo player, the same rewards, then really that's on me. For example, we've got a prospector which you can mine with as a solo player. You've got a mole that you mine with as a group. There's certain rocks you're not going to be able to crack with that prospector. So if I want to play solo, which I can with that prospector, I just got to know that there's going to be certain rocks that I'm just not going to be able to crack, and I have to tailor my gameplay to what's available to me. It doesn't mean that I'm cut out of mining altogether. It just means I can't do as a solo player the same thing that the group can do as a team. It's really about expectations.
I think back to those games with your level on your forehead, right, or your level over your head,
Right.
Yeah.
where you could see that somebody's a level 8, right, and you going somewhere and you look around and all the enemies are level 15, and you turn back around like this is I went the wrong way. Right?
Hey,
Same
the
thing
one
with,
thing
I was going to say really quick, same thing with the cooperative gameplay. I've seen systems where I'm level 8 and the person that I'm introducing the game to is level 3, and we go into some area and it levels down the enemies so that we can play together, right? So we go into some instant space, the enemies are all level 5 or level 6, right? So that person can play and I can play. There's some system in the place. Now, I definitely don't want numbers over everybody's head, right?
I was just about to say that I miss seeing damage numbers appearing over something's head when I hit it. I want that in Star Citizen.
No.
I definitely do not. But I do want systems that function behind the scenes to make certain spaces make sense, right? I think to Griff's point, Apex Valakar needs to be Apex Valakar, right? But if if the game knows that I am 1.5 hours in and I just finished the tutorial and I go somewhere, it needs to have systems in place that I'm seeing things that are going to make sense for me as a beginning player, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't want them to necessarily be visible, but I do want them to be experiential. Right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to look. Again, I don't want to just use the Apex thing that's happening with ASD as the example. I'm just using it because it's the one we have. I would like to see it where you go into there, whether you go in as a solo person into the ASD facility, or whether you progress through with 3 or 4 friends, or like the Cap said, maybe you've got 5 or 6 people. But once you get out there to that big area where the Apex is, to me, that's where cooperative gameplay happens. Not just with those 5 or 6 that you have, but maybe there's another group of 4. Maybe there's a solo person. Maybe there are 3 people. And now you accumulate a certain amount of people who are out there. So now you've got 18 people, 24 people, and then cooperatively you go for it. Now, once the thing is dead, it's every man for himself again, or every group for themselves. But I would love to see cooperative play build in certain ways that way. Not all of them, but ways that the circumstance demands that you come together with other people to make something happen. Like I said, I don't know exactly how that would be done, but I think you get in theory what I'm saying, that I would love to see cooperative gameplay happen. There might be those cases where 6 people can go out and do something, and that's great, But again, from what I've been told and what people have said to me about the Apex fight, I was like, when I heard it, it kind of took the wind out of my sails. I was like, okay, and it wasn't even based upon, maybe it was based upon the fact that this thing's supposed to be freaking 300 meters long. And you're going to tell me 6 people or 4 people can go out there and kill it in 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, mind you, tier 0. And I'm sure they're going to scale it up as these other Valakar come out. I hope that they become very challenging. Not just this boss, but any large Apex predator that they put into the game. Because like right now, even the large Valakar, when you kill them, we went in and shot them like 4 or 5 times, 6 times, and they died. There was no threat. I didn't feel terrified from them. The first time you hear them, you don't expect them. Yeah, but after a while, it's like, okay, pop, 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 he's dead. Move on. I need that to be elevated so that in group play, there may be even circumstances where I need a group of people because even the large ones are a hassle for me to deal with. But that may come later, as balance comes in with those creatures.
I mean, the other thing that we have.
Can I say last thing about this answer 5? One last thing about answer 5. I have a hard time with answer number 5. Only because I came out of a different gaming period. I think this is just the sentiment and the mindset of where gamers are now, if that makes sense. I just think that's just the way it is now. I don't think this is universal because there was a time when this was not we wouldn't have cared about any of this stuff. Like a lot of times people say now, oh, well, we don't have time. Like time is different today than it was 10 years ago, 20 years, like something changed about time. I don't know, like people didn't think we had families 20 years ago or didn't have jobs 20 years ago. We had them then. I think that there's a lot of stuff that convolutes our time now that makes us feel very pressured and makes us feel like I only have so much time to play this game. We only had so much time to play games back in the day. So I think it's just a matter of there's an urgency to everything that we do in life now, and there's very little time to sit back. And don't get me wrong. I know we have responsibilities. Don't get me wrong. I know you got to put your kid to bed at a certain time. But we had to put our kid to bed. Matter of fact, we put our kids to bed earlier back in the day than people do now.
That's why you had more time. They were in bed.
Exactly. Good point, Fastcar. My kid wasn't running around at 10 o'clock at night driving me crazy, right? You put your kid to bed at 8 o'clock and you had the rest of the evening to yourself. I don't know. But anyway, I do think that this is just the state of the way people play games and the way the industry is now for answer number 5.
Yeah.
Whoa. Games were a lot simpler. Oh, you don't want me to go down that road.
Oh my God. That's a 10-minute rant from Griffin now.
Wait a minute. You were talking about games were a lot more simpler. Back in the day, we used to get manuals that were 100 pages long. Don't talk to me about Spectrum Holobyte, me playing Falcon 3.0, where you had to freaking learn how an actual, McDonnell Douglas F-16 flew. So don't give me that stuff about games were easier. No freaking way. You guys have access to the internet, cheats, YouTube, all this stuff. We had none of that stuff. So I'm not buying that stuff that games were simpler. Unless you're talking about playing Donkey Kong or something, not PC games. I'm not going to buy that, okay?
Some people say,
I saw that in the chat, and I was like, Griff ain't gonna let that pass. Griff is not gonna let that pass.
I see a lot of people saying in chat, Star Citizen should have a looking for group system or a matchmaking system. I'm not sure how that would work in Star Citizen because you have to physically fly to where other people are. So it's not like you can hop into an instance like you can in Photo or Final Fantasy. So I'm not sure how looking for group or matchmaking stuff will work in Star Citizen.
Mookie, thank you very much for the subscription and the 12 months. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw you, John. Don't be joking around about me being an old man talking about I walked 20 miles to school in the snow. Yeah, okay. I hear you.
All right, we're gonna go to a commercial, and then we're gonna take it to a slightly different direction on the backside.
We'll be back, y'all. See you in a minute.
So, if you're still here, that means that you are a supporter of Soul Citizens, and we are super thankful for you. There's things that we do with this channel that we would not be able to do without your support, without your help. So thank you for leaning in, not out at a time when people it's divisive. We are connecting here, and we are community, and we are very, very appreciative of everybody's effort in that direction. So thank you. Anything else y'all want to say?
Next week, we're doing a show called Why, and it's about those ships that people always ask, why does Star Citizen make this ship? Why does CIG make this ship? So we're going to be talking about several of those why ships next week, so including the one that just came out. Why'd they put the fin on it? So that's going to be next week.
Very good.
Oh boy, the canard gate.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We are happy to have you all back. And what we want to do now is to talk a little bit about some of the components of cooperative gameplay that we've seen in game and some of the ideas that we have around what these things could be. So let's start with teamwork. Right? Teamwork is where obviously players are playing together, often with distinct roles or skills, but sometimes they overlap. But they work together to overcome obstacles and defeat enemies and to achieve goals, right? So teamwork. Do you all have in-game examples of teamwork?
Zabrak, thank you so much. Let me give a shout out to Zabrak for this subscription, first-time speaker too in our chat. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I'll give a quick example of teamwork that I experienced very early on in the game, because early on I had what Chris Roberts at one point thought was the biggest ship that you were going to be able to own in Star Citizen, right? Which is the constellation Andromeda, right? When you do a mission in the constellation Andromeda, you can have a pilot that's navigating, right? Positioning the ship. You can have a co-pilot, right? You can have turret gunners, top and bottom. You can have a ground team that deploys out. You can have ground vehicles that they take, right? You can have a situation where the ground team is in the ground vehicle, you land, they get out, they drive, you create close air support, right? And manage the skies. And all of that, if all of that is required, then the pilot can't do that alone, right? And success depends on each person in their role being performed in sync. Now, to Captain Jones' earlier point, when we get engineering, then you're going to have an engineer as well, right? Or at least one person doing the engineering role, right? If not two. So that's it. But right now, just flying the Andromeda fully kitted out, right? And that's not, I didn't even include a pilot to take the snub fighter out, right? To increase, if needed, the close air support. So that's my example. Y'all got examples of teamwork that you've experienced in game already? This should be the easiest one.
Yeah, I've got a similar one. It was when the Carrot came out, and people were. This is at the time when the Carrot was the biggest thing, and people would go after the Carrot a lot. And was with a crew of people, and we were trying to find a place to land this thing. I can't remember where we were, but it was someplace where landing the Carrot was a hassle. And so somebody jumped into the what's it called, the Anvil? What's the little scout ship that goes inside the Carrot? The Pisces. Yeah. Pisces. And they jumped into it, and they went down while we were in orbit. They went down and spotted out a location, and we could see them where they were located. And then once they found a good, safe place for us to come in and land, they did that. And we flew down, and the person had a perfect landing spot for us and everything. And we've done that. I've done it a couple times with people where someone used a scout ship to go ahead of us and done that. I've also done it with when we were doing whole sea runs, which was cooperative, where we would have some people escorting, and there'd be somebody who would take the jump just a minute ahead of us to make sure that when we arrived with the whole sea, that there weren't any enemies in that area. Just this real basic, straightforward things like that people enjoy doing. There'd be times when there'd be encounters, but most times it was just a straight escort. People would just kind of pile up and say, hey, do you want me to escort you? Because we know you're carrying several $1 million worth of stuff, or AUEC of stuff. And that was cooperative play for us to do, just teamwork, working together kind of thing.
Anybody else?
I had an easy answer, but I'm going to go with a hard answer. I didn't really participate in this, but I heard a lot of stories about this. But it's kind of controversial. The first jump town, the people had the conga line going from the inside to the different ships. People who may not be familiar with it. I forget what year, 2019-ish, 2018 maybe. around then. But Jumptown isn't what Jumptown then is what it is now. Back then, it was more organic. People found these places where you can pick up drugs and sell them in other places. But most, I want to say maybe most of it was designed to be competitive. People fight it out over these drugs, but sometimes people will organize these little conga lines where people be passing drugs to people who would until they meet that quota, and then the next person come along and do the same thing. So that's an example of cooperative gameplay that we haven't seen in a while. Basically, it's more competitive now.
Yeah, you think Jumptown goes back further than it does, but Jumptown went back to 316. So when was 316 released live? I don't know if it was 2019. It might have been 2021.
Yeah, I don't remember now.
Yeah, so
I want to say before COVID.
Yeah, the 2.0 Jumptown was 2019.
Yeah, that was like early. Later. They started the conga. The conga lines came later. Yeah, in the beginning, it was every man. It was cutthroat. It was every man for himself in the early days.
Yeah, that's what NASCAR is talking about, though. It was that the Jumptown. You had to find Jumptown. You weren't even told where it was. You had to find it.
Yeah, it was a little bit later.
That was before 2019. Yeah, the conga lines was in the newer, sometimes planned version. But either way, the cooperation is also by choice. So you can try to do Jumptown by yourself, may or may not have success. And you can try to do most content by yourself, may or may not have success. But there's a lot more to enjoy, both from the gameplay standpoint or just socially when you with others. I mean, we know the alpha, we know there's bugs, right? Even the bugs are not as bad when you got other people to share the pain, I guess you could say. Falling through floors, all those kind of things. It's just better with other people. And if there is an actual tactical goal, they're better with other people. You're in Jumptown, somebody's pulling packages, somebody's watching the sky, somebody's loading packages, somebody's running it back. That's a team. We had most of the contents like that. We had the ones where you gotta get the codes off the servers and then the servers before they blow up. You run around and try to do both parts by yourself, sure, but team just makes it better. Or even our current content with the boxes. You can move boxes for hours by yourself, but it's better. Someone's helping you load, unload. Even if it's just someone to keep you company, the teamwork adds extra beyond just the assigned goal that they could give you. There's more to playing with others than just what the in-game reward is for me as a solo player.
Yeah, I think teamwork too. There's Go ahead, Pascal.
I'm going to say the Second Life cargo hauling thing was going to be my easy answer, and it's definitely easier, definitely faster when you have more people. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. I was going to say the ASD mission. There's an aspect of teamwork in there where you get to the point where somebody has to take off and put on the lab coat and pants. You have to work together as a team at that point. I've seen people, will protect you, will guard you while you change clothes, because of course you have to become vulnerable to utilize a security door unless you do some other things. But that was a form of teamwork to me more recently with the ASD missions.
And let's talk really quick about teamwork ideas you want to see in the game in the next year, right? So using systems that you think are going to be in the game the next year, not end state, right? But something that we could imagine this time next year playing.
Yeah. I'm hoping with the implementation of fire and the fire extinguishers, things like that, where there's going to be coordination with the engineer, whoever, I don't know who's going to be seeing the alarm that goes off and says, hey, there's a fire on the aft, shield generator or something. But, seeing that level of communication kind of step up. I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit later, but just the fact that there's going to have to be a teamwork effort to deal with those type of things that may pop up on a ship. I'm kind of looking forward to stuff like that.
Yeah, you took mine, which is I want to see derelict distress beacons where ships are on fire off the shoulder over Orion. And I get to come in and play a role in, you got to navigate through the debris You got to use ship sensors to see which part of the ship is most critical, right, to deal with, right? Medical officers to put the med guns and stabilize survivors. Security for overwatch and ambushing, you know, support crew to salvage some of the wreck, right? Or maybe that's what the insurance company that has assigned you to this wants, right? They want pieces of the wreck, right? So there's lots of different ways I think you could take and iterate on the current missions we have now to give you that, right? So what about you, Fastcar? Any suggested teamwork ideas?
See, the thing is, I didn't know it was like a year out. That was a limitation that I hadn't heard about. But I brought down like maybe a raid, like instead of the Valakar, have you a Royal Stalker. I've been waiting for the Royal Stalker to appear in games since I saw the concept, and I don't even know when I saw the first concept. I've been waiting for that thing for almost a decade now. So maybe like a raid for the Royal Stalker, like we have for the Valakar. Now that one, Griff. That one, I can see you need more people for it.
Royal Stalker smaller than a Valakar.
Smaller, but it can grab you and sling around. You could do the Hulk thing, like
Oh my God,
ragdoll you.
It's
Captain
still
Jones?
equal. It's like everything else. I would like to see maybe some incursions starting to happen. Maybe different factions, but preferably more excited by maybe Vandals or responding to service beacons, maybe using some of these comm arrays or different communications to say, hey, there's something out there, go see what it is.
So everybody has to respond.
Yeah, and then when the people that do respond the first time realize it's something that you're not going to be able to handle by yourself. Because as long as one or two people in the Gladius can push it back, it's never going to be cooperative. But once you get out there and be like, we need everybody out here to push these guys back, kingship type of battles, I think the cooperation is always going to be a choice. Right now, our choice is maybe I play with others, but more times than not, I can solo the content that's out there. What Sig needs to do is force it a little bit. You're not going to be able to solo what you see. Now it needs to be all hands on deck.
Yeah, and I think they got at a little bit of that with Xenothreat and other things, right? But to extend that idea in that direction would be very interesting. I like that a lot. I like all of it.
Remember we did the. I'm sorry. Last one I was gonna say. I'll make it real quick. Remember we did the Idris. Remember it took us like 5.5 hours. That was all teamwork. You know what I'm saying? There was no way to solo that. It was just no freaking way to solo that. We had to work as a team to do that, and that went like for 5 hours. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
I do remember that. All right. Other aspects of cooperative gameplay where we can talk about examples and suggested ideas: shared goals. The focus on shared goals is achieving a common objective, such as completing a mission, defeating a boss, or progressing through a story. This is what Captain Jones was just getting at, right? We have shared goals. What's an in-game example for you of shared goals? I give you mine. I just gave it to you, which is Xenothreat, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was being called by Rowena Dooley, right, to either deliver cargo or defend convoys or defeat Xenothreat capital ships. Everyone in the server, regardless of org or crew, could contribute to the same shared objective. To repel Xenothreat and complete these event phases. So the victory, if you want to call it that, was not one ship, right, but a collective effort of dozens of players doing all the stuff, right? And to people's point about sometimes it gets frustrating when nobody wanted to run cargo during Xenothreat, the mission just stalled till somebody got in there and ran some cargo, right? You had to get in there and do it, right? Or the thing wouldn't trigger to the next phase, right? So it was shared goals and shared success. Other thoughts of in-game examples, shared goals?
The new Onyx missions, I don't want to give too much spoiler away, but
don't give no spoilers.
Yeah, that's a cooperative game that gameplay that people you need to work with to achieve
Wait,
achieve a goal.
that's
put it
not
that way.
cooperative though. We're not going with cooperative. We're on shared goal.
Shared, okay, yeah, shared. I'm sorry, shared, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I was going to the resource missions that we have.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to go to. Was the regen was the one I was getting ready to go to. So don't steal my thunder. I was going to go to the regen crisis.
Too late.
Yeah, the thing that bothers me about the regen crisis piece is I felt like it doesn't have the impact that it needs to have. I really wish they had made it. I don't know. Maybe you all tell me if I'm wrong on this assumption. It seemed like people picked which ones they were doing based upon the reward, right?
Yeah.
Not the fact that Hurston's my home world and I want my home world to be the thing. Like I did R-Corp first because R-Corp's my home world. That was the reason why I didn't care about what color the armor looked. Don't get me wrong. There are some armors that look better than others, but my motivation was I want R-Corp because that's where my home is. And I want R-Corp to be the one that was going to get the gate, you know, for Pyrogate. I wish there was more of that. And there's no reason to have that allegiance per se, because there are some people who might be living at Hurston because it's centrally located, but they care about getting their parts from Microtech. You know what I'm saying? So there's no real allegiance to Hurston necessarily. They have dual allegiance. And so I wish it was built more around that and that the reward became secondary. Now, maybe for some people, it was about, you know, they wanted their home world to get it. Most of us have probably accumulated all four of the worlds, you know, over time. But I wish there would have been more of a drive for the shared goal being us R-Corp folks. You know, we had to get together and make sure that R-Corp, because like to me, my regen at R-Corp, if R-Corp is the lowest regen score right now, they should be getting affected by the regen crisis, you know, which would have given motivation for the R-Corp people to get off their butts and focus on R-Corp. The regen crisis is not impacting me, so I feel like that's a loss right now. So the shared goal thing got lost for me in this.
I want to point out, Robert said it's tolerable. Yes, it's tolerable, but there's a shared goal with the in your journal. You can keep track of who's number one. Like Griffin said, Hurston it currently in the top score because all the missions that people have been running, and for me, I did it based on the skins and the colors. I wasn't really worried about the.
You didn't care about your home world. You didn't care about your home world. All your people being jacked up. I didn't care about my home world.
Selfish.
Selfish.
Yeah, I mean, my home world, technically in Stanton, would be New Babbitt, but New Babbitt didn't have the colors that I want, so I did R-Corp, and that did Hurston.
Oh my God! What the generation?
You can't beat the black and gold.
Oh, this generation, we're just lost. Oh my God!
I'm only one generation behind you.
All materialistic. You're all materialistic. Oh God! I'm just messing with you guys. No, I get it. I mean,
I think that was most people. Most people, and it goes back to, you know, what it says right here on the screen: shared goal, specifically progressing through a story. So there is a shared goal. However, it doesn't really progress through a story. The goal is to get a livery or armor or something that you want for yourself. It doesn't progress the story more than maybe the story that's going to be at the jump point. If they had made it so that the
story was affected.
That one maybe the only place where you can regen now, or the only place where you can regen easily or cheaply, or if they made something more within the game itself, story-wise, and now we actually have a shared goal. You know, I'm moving boxes for Microtech because I want to be able to make sure they're at the forefront of being able to respawn or whatever the story is, not just because I move more boxes than you. We get a special armor in the end of the game. So I think they need to move more to. They have been progressing with the content. You know, this has been a year of let's feature more content. They're dropping in content. So I think the only thing that's missing is actually to make those connect lore-wise and story-wise and have impact to what we're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, they did it. They did a little bit of it. If you stood by the check-in desk at some hospitals, you would hear some of the impact, but it wasn't dynamic, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
to Griff's point, imagine if ArtCorp is last and then you log in and your home is ArtCorp and you're operating out of ArtCorp and Jared shows up on all the screens like, do not set your respawn here, right?
Mhm.
It will not work. You must set
Mhm.
your respawn somewhere else,
Mhm.
right? And if the cost of setting and if you kept your respawn at ArtCorp
It
and you
costs some more.
respawn and you lost stuff out of your inventory, right?
Mhm.
Not stuff that you own in the game, but stuff that you had acquired in game, right? Because you
Mhm.
didn't listen, right? And there was a cost to that. People would not only respond to that, but they go, I need to fix ArtCorp because this is where I want to operate out of, right?
Right. Right.
Right. So yeah, there's an opportunity there. But that's the next part of this, which is suggested shared goal ideas. What are your suggestions for these things going forward?
I got one. I don't know
Yeah.
if people. I think people may go for it. So as soon as I say this, people may get an idea of what I mean. But how about like instead of like a resource grind for cargo and stuff like that, you have a tracker for the amount of distress beacons that are completed. And once you hit a certain point, when like maybe you need across month, maybe you need like a million distress beacons that have been completed, you get Tessa Bannister back.
Okay.
People who may not know who Tessa Bannister
Yeah, I was going to
is.
say that's the problem with that. Yeah, it doesn't. If there's a bunch of people that Tessa Bannister means absolutely nothing to. I mean, and Tessa was a voice. I mean, I get what you're saying though, but something that everybody can work toward to make a goal in the game. You know, again, the resource was an opportunity for something like that. A shared goal where everybody who participates benefits in some way. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, beyond like what Captain Jones mentioned earlier about incursions, you know, where, you know, and this is much further down the line, but if you did have that situation where, I mean, and actually, maybe it could happen in some ways. Like maybe, like in a place like Pyro, I know they don't have the gangs and stuff really functioning that well, but there could have been a thing where you had a push where maybe, if nothing else, there are more NPCs of a group that are in a certain area. Like coming through the Pyro Gate benefits everybody, right? Coming through that gate, it is important for everybody, no matter who you're with. But if you come through that gate, and as soon as you come through there, you've got a blockade of NPC ships waiting there for you. You know, you might end up getting some type of shared goal, or no matter, everybody's going to be like, okay, we want to be able to get through this gate without a problem. We all, you know, no matter who gang you're behind, we need to get behind her and stop it. But even then, I think it still needs to be tied into the lore in some way or other. But I don't know if I can think of anything else that would be shared goal type of stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine, for example, like Xenothreat 3.0, right? Cooperative based defense. Right? You could take these distribution centers that now have light experiential content and say, you know, Xenothreat is threatening distribution centers across Stanton, right? And if the worse that players do at defending the distribution centers, the higher everything costs.
Yeah.
Right. For a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Because the distribution centers are how things are distributed, right?
Start hitting the wallets. Start hitting our wallets.
Start hitting people's wallets. And then it could be, you know, how we, because I always think, well, how could they do this in a year based upon the current mission structure that they have? We have some of those missions that are 3 waves. You could do 16 waves, right? Defend this outpost for 16 waves or a set time until reinforcements arrive. And it could be, you know, very much that Force Awakens or whatever it was. I can't remember the sequel Star Wars movie where Xenothreat lands some distance from the distribution center and they're coming with land forces and they're coming with air forces. And you have to respond with air and ground. Medics and engineers, you have to repair pipes that they bomb and things like that, and you have to keep all of that up until you get through all 16 waves and reinforcers come, right?
Okay.
And the better that everybody does at that, the lower the prices are.
Okay.
You can tell I thought about that one.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I think anytime there's a cost to what we're doing, not just the Serious Fun brought up the cost of resources, but the cost overall, it could be lots of different costs. So if you take Pyro, separated by a bunch of different factions, and it doesn't really matter if I support Xenothread or Freedom Fighters or Citizens for Prosperity or any of them. It really has no cost to it. You start doing things where, as one group's missions, are done more than the others, they could track it kind of like the way they're tracking the event right now, then there's a cost. So maybe Citizens for Prosperity has more control over sections of Pyro now, and now when you go to land and refuel, if you don't have a good faction with them, you just can't. Now I gotta fly further, or maybe I can't get there at all because I just don't have enough fuel. So yeah, it should just be cost of what we do, no matter what it is. Right now, there's a lot of content, but and it's alpha, so in a way, it kind of doesn't matter, but it'd be cool if it did. And there's areas where it could start the lore building now and story impacting now, but there's more, risk versus reward, more cost to what we're doing.
And they got to start practicing this stuff and letting us practice it, right? Know how they really want it. So.
I mean,
all right, next one.
Sorry, real quick. The great thing about this, about this, not resource crime, but the region crisis, the what do you call it? The Second Life, the cargo hauler thing, is that they said they fixed like 40 different bugs with the elevator.
No. They didn't say that. They said 44 issues came up, but they came out of this issue with the elevators. There were 44 other things that they found out. Not fixed.
Okay. So, but they found out about them. So that's a beneficial side effect from them doing missions like this. So it's not all fun and games.
Yeah. All right, next one. Another facet of cooperative gameplay is straight up cooperation. Cooperation, not competition. Unlike player versus player PvP modes, co-op emphasizes collaboration and mutual support. An example I have real quick of that, Captain Jones touched on earlier, is when you are doing a mining expedition and you've got lots of different types of players. They can come out in a mole, they can come out in a prospector. You could have multiple moles and multiple prospectors, all not competing for ore, but all solving for ore in a certain region, right? When you go out as a team, right? And everybody benefits from that shared haul. Nobody's trying to outmine each other at that point, right? That would be my example. What about y'all?
I was going to mention the elevator guy. The elevator guy was a good example of somebody who got some fame and notoriety for just being at some of the depots or the locations where the loadings were on moons and planets, and he was just sitting out there in his Atlas, and anybody that pulled up, he loaded their ship up for him, no charge. But he enjoyed doing that, and there's a certain level of trust that had to happen with that. Obviously, people had to unlock their, what do you call it? Unlock your what's it called? Ports. And trust this guy was going to do the right thing, but he started to get a reputation that this guy would help you expedite getting your stuff loaded. And it was just gameplay that he enjoyed doing, and people did. And there were other people who, because of the length of time with many ships at those locations, would come out and just start helping people pull their boxes and load stuff just so they could expedite everybody. It sped the clock up for everybody that participated. I had a guy who helped me, and then I was getting ready to pull off, and then I saw he had a bigger load than I did, and I got off my ship and I went back out and helped him load his ship. And it only took a couple minutes to do that, but it was rewarding. It helped both of us out, and somebody who was a complete stranger, wasn't even a part of my team. And
it's so funny because Elevator Guy is now in the lore. Oh, Stutter spoke to it in the chat. Yeah, he does need a plaque at IAE. We need to elevate and celebrate that type of stuff. Other example.
Oh, I was gonna say maybe at the next Quantum Vegas we can make a plaque for but another example. See, I came about this with a different idea. You said it's cooperation, but it's within competition also. So like the Daemon Rally. People could come together to have their team coming first. That's cooperation. But it's racing, so it's still competition. So you can have both.
Yeah, I think that's right. There's a lot of cooperation within competition within cooperation at that rally for all in multiple dimensions, right? So the race itself, in terms of the teams, race logistics and support, right? Race defense.
Defense, yeah, that's a big one. That's cooperative for everybody.
Yeah. What about new ideas in cooperation? I've got one that's been cooking for a while, but I'll let y'all go first. What about new ideas in cooperation?
This is not going to happen within a year, but base building, that's cooperation within your org or within your group of friends. You're going to need to gather resources, and someone may need to cover to provide defense while those resources are cooking and what have you. That'll be cooperation.
Yep. Okay. Others?
Yeah, I was actually gonna talk about base building because it's something dear to my heart. But I'm thinking back to there used to be a mission or a bounty where it required two people, meaning that one target was in one jurisdiction and the other target was in another. So, and you had to hit them at the same time. So, if you were in Crusader, you'd be going after the bounty at the same time I go to one in Microtech, bringing stuff like that out, but making it bigger. So we talked about incursions or expanding the beacons. Maybe instead of just having one beacon that everybody just rushing to, maybe there's a beacon, 5 beacons all over the verse, and everybody's got to get to them within a certain window. That would be cooperation there, and something you just can't do by yourself. You can't be in 5 places at one time. It's a way to force cooperation.
Yeah. Griff, what about you?
I was just going to say cooperation for me will be situations where there's a common enemy, where people will set aside whatever differences they have in order to deal with something on a common level. I was using the example earlier about the regen crisis from a planetary, whoever lived on our corporate, if you lived on Microtech, those people on Microtech would cooperate together. But then I'm looking at something that's much grander in scale, which would be when there's something maybe in relation to like the Van Duel, something like that, where, no matter what people are, whatever the case may be, they know that there's a common enemy and that everybody, that was supposed to be part of what Operation Pitchfork was going to be. Something along those lines is much grander in scale. But to create a common enemy is a big deal. Cool Kibo says the common enemy are the elevators. That's another one. Just something that is bigger than anything that's going on in the game. And that could happen. I hope it happens dynamically when something like that does happen, that word of mouth gets out. I love the idea that I think Captain Jones or one of you guys said something earlier about what happens when the monitors go active, when there's a form of incursion. And no matter where people are, whether they're in one of the restaurants, a bar, or if they're buying their weapons in the weapon shop, the monitors go live and say, hey, something is happening, and that people need to respond to it. I'm really looking forward to stuff like that, where players will cooperatively go after whatever it is. Basically, you drop what you're doing and kind of respond to it kind of stuff. It's something at that scale I would love to see.
Quickly to your point,
Go ahead.
Quickly to your point, I'm really looking forward to Operation Pitchfork. I haven't heard anything about that because there's nothing really to know or do anything about that at the present time. But for people who don't know, the idea behind Operation Pitchfork is like the last day of beta or the day before 1.0 go live. There'll be a community organized event to push out the Van Duel out of the Vega system, or maybe have some kind of event where CIG will put Van Duel coming into expansion and we push them back. But that's the idea for Operation Pitchfork. I'm still looking forward to that, and who knows when that'll actually happen.
Who knows if it will happen?
Yeah,
it's a community idea. It's not a CIG idea, but they were very supportive of it. Right. of the concept in the early days. We'll have to see if they do something like that. Yeah.
Really quick, my idea is that, and this is in the next year, I fully expect Nyx to be in the game. So
Okay.
then you've got 3 systems and all the moons and everything. I'd love to see a disaster event, right? Power failure, famine, plague, that quarantines a certain space until players cooperate to remediate the condition, right? So let's say, we have 3 systems and everything on Crusader, Orison, all of the platforms, everything is quarantined until medical ships come in and provide treatment. Transport ships provide food, water, and supplies, and the success condition has to be met, right? Relief delivered to civilians, not who gets the most kills or money or loot, but relief, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I see it from a mission standpoint. It makes cooperation in that sense the only way forward if we want access to certain locations in the game again, right? And so it's a week of quarantine relief, and if we don't meet the goal, then it's another 2 weeks. But if we do meet it, then it's ended and it won't happen again in that space for a year or whatever. That type of thing.
Cool.
All right. Another dimension of cooperative gameplay is communication, effective communication, often through voice chat, because that's what we have right now, is crucial for coordinating actions and strategies. Where have you seen in-game examples of communication, and what are your ideas for what communication could be in the next year in Star Citizen?
I'm a little frustrated with the fact that VoIP. Thank you, DJ Psychosis. VoIP. I was when I was out doing the box loading, and I was trying to talk to a guy. I was trying to help him out and do some stuff, and he was trying to talk to me via Morse code using his lamp. Right? It was very frustrating that we couldn't communicate at that moment. So, even though there's communication between us ourselves, if you're playing with friends, if you're in Discord. But I really would love to see them really tighten up and refine the way we communicate in game. To me, I think the immersion aspect of that will be even better. I know that could be a hassle. There's other games I played like Mortal Online where you hear all types of conversations of stuff you don't want to hear, all types of crazy stuff. So I don't know how that's going to be navigated so that, some of the stuff you just don't want to hear that's going on. You want to be able to communicate with people well. And I don't know if there is, if you guys have experienced any game that has a really good communication system where you don't have to hear all the craziness, I don't know if there's anything like that out there, to be honest with you. That's why people use things like the TeamSpeaks and Discords and all that other stuff too.
Yeah, my example wasn't, it's an in-game example, but I wasn't in-game to see it. Right. I saw this on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure this goes way back. But I'm pretty sure it was Hybrid V Audio's channel. And it was it was a multi-crew of a hammerhead. And if you've ever flown a hammerhead with multi-crew, you know that there are blind spots in the firing arc of surfaces of the hammerhead that it requires the pilot to turn and readjust the ship to make sure that the guns can get on target and that shields can be protected. And I'm almost sure it was Hybrid V's channel, and it was his group. It was an incredible coordination with the pilot in terms of calling out maneuvers, bank left, shields forward, shields are down the back, bank right, turn, gunners reporting priorities and status, it was being done in such a way that there wasn't a lot of crosstalk and overlap. And they also had escort fighters arrive to coordinate with the Hammerhead's crew, right? Sweeping your 6, clear to push forward, et cetera, et cetera. And so right now we have comms that don't force precision, but if we are precise in the use of comms, you see a lot of minimizing blind spots, and they operated as a single lethal unit with that Hammerhead. I thought it was very, very cool. I'm almost sure it was Hybrid. We have to find the video now and post it later on in our Discord. And come to our Discord and check us out. If you go to twitch.tv/Soul Citizens. Check our About channel. You'll see an opportunity to come to our different social media. But that was my in-game example. Other in-game examples?
Everything I'd already mentioned, like the Second Life cargo hauling, the Onyx mission, the Daemon rally, all those require good communication. But most of that is done through Discord. So I don't know. This reminded me, maybe about a month ago, there was a SCL, I believe, where someone said that the limit for Discord VoIP, the limit for VoIP in game is 60, but they need to expand that to accommodate like all 500 people that the server can handle. So they all, I think they said they're working on it, or they want to work on it, but we don't know when that's going to come out.
Is that 60 in proximity you're talking about? You're talking about in proximity, not 60 overall. Is it?
I forget.
60 people or 60 feet in game?
I remember the word. I remember the number 60, but I hear that they want to accommodate however many are in the server, like 500. I have to go back and look, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that. That's interesting.
60 people in game get void. Yeah, that's what DJ Psychosis said. 60 total.
In game get VoIP. Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a small number. Like, because back in the day we only had 60. So that's what they
I'm just surprised that it's limited. Okay.
Now, if I had known that I would have asked Sean Tracy at Quantum about that.
That's interesting. Okay.
All right, and
I think the
Captain
sooner
Jones?
they start getting in some of those community tools that they share with at CitizenCon, the better we can be at some of the effective communication. Specifically, it's not that people play. Sometimes people are only playing solo because they can't find people to play with. So other games have had things like looking for group channels and different ways for people to communicate. They're looking to party up, teamwork, collaborate. I know we do have the global chat, but that's never really effective for that type of communication. So giving people opportunities to think up more easily is, I think, the biggest step to hitting this effective communication. Because other than that, most people that are playing together are using Discord anyways. Really what we need is tools within the game for people to be able to do that as well.
Yeah. And what about your ideas for communication going forward? I mean, people have touched on that. Any specific big ideas that you have in the next year for communication?
I don't know about the next year, but we already have the Polaris, we already have the Idris. I'm looking forward to how communication will work on a Javelin. That'll be interesting.
What do you mean?
Or base building. Like you have on the Idris, you have, well, right now it's mostly pilot handling big guns and people are on the turret and doing stuff like that. But for something like a Javelin, I think it'll be more in depth because maybe by then we have engineering and that'll be a bigger thing. So you're gonna definitely need communication saying, hey, we have an issue here with the engineering thing. We need to take care of it before we can do this, and that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
My idea is, this is the one idea I have that I don't know if it's going to be in a year. So that's my caveat. But I know that they talked about transient jump points and the process of charting a jump point could require, from a mission standpoint, could require scouts and crews and command leads coordinating to mark out certain areas, however they design that. I can imagine a lot of communication and structured comms being needed so that ships aren't lost to the transient jump point and that it is charted out correctly. So that's what I'm thinking about. But who knows when we're going to get transient jump points? My guess is once they put another stable jump point in with Nyx, they'll have enough data to begin to think about it. But who knows?
Well, my toss in is going to be real quick. It's going to be communication with the tools that are built into our ships. We've got the scanning globes on some of the ships. Hopefully, being able to, if you go out in groups, being able to see where your ships are or where enemy ships are on that globe, where someone who's in a captain's position or whatever can kind of use that as what's in the area. If you have large scanning, I would love to see some of that stuff start to come to life in the game. It's going to take some time, I know, before we get that, but they've fired those globes up, and we can kind of see the degrees on them and all that other great stuff. So I would love to see now that when you walk up to that globe, if there are enemy ships that are not a part of your group, or ships that are in your group, you can see where they are in formation, where they are within a certain range in that system. I would love to see something like that kick in.
Just to clarify, you mean the CNC?
The CNC, the whoever,
Okay.
whoever is assigned to it, Yep.
All right. Our final one. Our final dimension of cooperative gameplay. Variable difficulty. Co-op modes often adjust the difficulty to accommodate the number of players. I hinted at this earlier, making the experience challenging and rewarding. Do you think we have any in-game examples of that now? Or is variable difficulty just something that's not in yet?
Yeah, I don't.
I got question mark for this one. I couldn't come up with anything for this one.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think that they're scaling. Like in some games, you guys know, like some games are going to a dungeon and it'll scale itself based upon the experience level of one of the players or both the players. That's not something that CIG has kind of alluded to that would happen with us. I wouldn't necessarily want that either. I want the difficulty levels to be at a place where you either need to have a certain thing. I know that Raba had shared some hints to us about this new mission that's out right now, that there are certain things you have to have or do in order to progress through them. And I like that type of stuff. If you don't have the right thing or the right amount of people or the right something, you run into a block or blocker. Yeah. I don't think there should be a workaround in some cases. Maybe there's some things I have to do to work around it that means some work, but I don't want it to be just like, oh, if I don't have this, I can just do this and it's done deal. I like that personally.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of was that the only time I've seen variable difficulty are things that CIG I don't think has intended yet, right? Like a low pop server will up the AI. Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you go to a bunker and a low pop server, and a bunker is brutal, and you need teammates.
Yeah,
right?
Very true.
You need
very
that
true.
other dimension of teamwork, and the difficulty flexes because the AI has shifted in the teamwork. You need this to be survivable.
An example from earlier, someone in chat said, "Could elevated be a variable difficulty?"
Yeah.
What about suggested variable difficulty ideas? I mean, Griff got at that a little bit. Other
there was
thoughts.
What was that mission that we did, guys? Remember there was this, oh God, I can't remember what this mission was, where you went through this facility and then when you got to a certain level, there was a boss and he was up on the ladders. You had to jump over like a bunch of cargo boxes and stuff. Do you guys remember what that mission was? And then like this boss would come out.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
No, I ain't talking about the dish. No, this is something different. Where was this at? You went somewhere.
I'm about Siege.
Yeah, it was a siege, and this guy, like, you had to crawl through different crates and stuff and climb over them and do a lot of leaping. And then eventually this boss came out. Yeah, this boss came out, and man, you had to like unload tons of ammo into this Joker. He was like a sponge. But I remember that there was a certain level of difficulty with that guy. They say it was Siege. Okay, yeah, it's been so long, guys, I've forgotten. But I love that, the fact that you knew that the bosses would escalate when you went forward. Only thing I hated was that you knew the boss was coming. I hate when they tell you where the boss is. That's the one thing I don't like. I'd rather we have to find the boss or the boss find you. That's the only thing I think is kind of weak. But other than that, I used to love the fact that the difficulty levels of the bosses were there. The heavier armor, the heavier weapon, all that stuff. You knew the weapons were going to be good. The armor was going to be good. I'd love that. Mm-hmm.
That was a very interesting one because Siege, I remember when Siege would start, and and you'd have some players who by themselves would run through the mission, trigger all the stuff, and you're trying to make your way through the event in this different way, and then all of a sudden the event's over because somebody just ran through it, right? And so again, we're in a testable alpha environment. I'm glad that CIG, hopefully CIG learned some stuff from that, because you don't want an event like that. That even if you're functioning, that was an interesting event because you could function as a solo player, but still be about the same objective at the same place. You know, I had strangers revive me with their med guns in Siege of Orison, and we got towards the end, we had a whole bunch of people, some of which we knew, some of which we knew. All of us were limping.
Right. Right.
It was intense. I only got to the end of Siege of Orison, I think, maybe twice. You know?
Yeah.
But hopefully CIG learned a lot from that one.
Yeah.
That's a very good one. Yeah.
GQ says here that we sort of I forgot about this. It's true. We sort of had that with that anti-hacking missions in the bunkers, where you got waves of baddies and then the boss would come out. That was another example of that.
That's another example. Yeah. That's right. What do you want in this area in the next year in terms of variable difficulty? What would you like to see?
I like that they're doing it with the Valacar thing a little bit. You know, you've got the juveniles, the adults, and then the apex. I would love to see that. You know, I think they even got with the Copian now. I don't know. Are the irradiated Copians any harder than the regular Copians, or are they the same? They just look irradiated. Is that the difference with them?
Take 2 shots.
Yeah, but I mean, they should be something about them. Like if you get bit by them, you've got serious radiation poisoning. There needs to be like serious radiation poisoning or something if you get bit by them. You know, just something that makes they're more dangerous. You know, there's something different. I think that should happen with anything like that. You know, a juvenile is one thing, but an adult, you get hit by an adult, that's even worse. If you get hit by the apex, you're probably just wiped out, one hit and you're dead. I would love to see variable difficulty with if it's a similar type of creature in the game.
I'm not going to tell you about the Copian because you don't want to be spoiled.
Okay. Fair. That's fair.
My suggestion, well, I have 2. One is a joke one, Theater of War. But no, that's my joke one. But the real one was like, just like how we had the Valacar, and I mentioned the Arboreal Stalker earlier, my third one's going to be the Whip Crab. Depending on how many people you bring to the fight, the Whip Crab can spawn more or fewer tentacles to attack you with.
Okay.
And you have to take down each tentacle before you can attack the main body, or something like that. That's my idea.
I like that. Captain Jones?
Yeah, because of the open world environment that we have, I can't see there being very many options for variable difficulty. You know, we might show up with 3 people, and in the midst of those 3 people, 10 other people show up. So it's going to be hard to scale those up and down based on the amount of people. But I think there's opportunity when it comes to the ones that around Area 18, the instance ones they were talking about. I would like to see those ramp up based on the group size, because that's a static number that will be known as you join the mission. If there's 5 starting, it knows it's 5. I don't want to see it dial down ever. I want it to be a base level difficulty, but it would be nice that they ramp it up. If I go in with 15 people versus 5 people, I want to be able to cheese it because we just go in with tons of people. So once they start bringing in those instance missions, I think that'd be their first opportunity to actually have some variations in the difficulty.
Yeah, that's not too far from what I was thinking. When they talked about the depths in the municipal works at Area 18, and they talked about levels going down, I immediately thought of Star Wars 1313, a canceled game that was about going down into the depths of Coruscant. And I would love to see depths have levels that sort of procedurally generated all the way down with storyline, but procedurally generated down as far as you could go, and the difficulty just kept getting harder. So the further you go down into ArtCorp, the harder it gets. and then people get to be known for, I went 65 levels down, I went 68 levels down, and who can go the furthest down in terms of the difficulty and the skill that's required. So
I can say I'm looking forward to going to 69. Nice.
Nice.
You know what's coming. You know what's coming.
On that note, we have come to the end of our content. We talked a little bit. We want to make sure. Did we get any Q&A?
Yes, we do. Want me to read it for you?
Yes, please.
From Vada Unson Jakin, I butchered that. I'm sorry. The CitizenCon is a digital one. It's not related to the show, but as the CitizenCon is a digital one, will we have a digital bar citizen with the Soul Citizens again?
No, we're not planning to do a digital bar citizen or virtual bar citizen because we know everybody's going to be glued to watching the show that day. You're obviously, those of you who watch our channel, if you're not in an org or even if you are, we will be in our Discord watching it together collectively. So you all are always welcome to come to our Discord. We're going to be starting about 30 minutes before the event. As you guys know, the event is about 2 hours long. We will post some information. It's posted in our Discord now under our event channel. But we will be starting about 30 minutes beforehand and 30 minutes afterward as well. So if you have no home and no place where you want to hang out and you don't want to be alone and you want to cooperatively watch the event, you guys are more than welcome to join us in our Discord on Saturday, August the 11th. Okay. And we'll be definitely making some more announcements to it as we get closer and closer.
Did you say Saturday, August the 11th? Saturday, October the 11th?
I'm sorry. Thank you. October the 11th. I'm sorry, gang. Yes. October the 11th.
Other questions, Fastcart?
Nope. That's it. I just got a joke, man, but it's too late.
It is too late. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you all for being here today. I want to thank my co-hosts, Captain Jones, Fastcard FC, even with all those jokes, and of course the inimitable Griffin Gaming RPG. We are here with you again next Sunday for a show called Why, which is, as Griffin said earlier, is really about exploring why CIG has made some of the ships that some folks have questions about, or some of the platforms that some folks have questions about. So we will explore that in depth next week, the August the 24th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So hopefully y'all will be here, same bat time, same bat channel, and to check us out. And now we're going to raid
Yo Meg.
a Soul Team compatriot in Yo Meg and the Double Dog crew. So stick around, let her know that you are coming from Soul Citizens and that it's a Soul raid. And if you haven't subscribed to her, please make sure that you do so. We love to support Yo Meg and the work that she does on Twitch. So it has been a blessing to see you all. And I want to make sure that I do the thing we do at the end. What's this? Love, peace, and
We got it in reverse there, but yeah, peace, love.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything.
peace, love, and
Soul.
There you go.
We'll see y'all later.